U.S. intelligence agency, mind control.
But Mike Huckabee has been listening throughout the morning, all morning long, and he joins us now.
The Globby.
Governor, great to have you on the program. We'd love your thoughts.
Well, there are a couple of big takeaways from the segment you just played. One was in relationship to China. And I thought, what a contrast. When Donald Trump was president, China had to...
Okay. So what happened is I had the Trump stuff before this, and this was the connecting piece. That's why it was the way it was. You wanting Trump at the bottom ruined my order. So we're dealing with
illegal
this.
trade deals that they've been doing. Donald Trump put them back on their heels. And we had the kind of relationship we should have been having with China. Joe Biden comes in, and of course we know how compromised he and his family are from the multi-million-dollar deals they've made with the Chinese Communist Party business
100%
enterprises over there. So they're not going to do anything.
Donald Trump,
and
though,
the whole
not a
situation
compromised
has radically
family.
changed. And I think
No, definitely
people
not.
can't
Also,
look at that
like,
objectively
Trump
and say,
put his family in office in the White House.
Yeah, and they're still whinging about Hunter Biden. Wild. Literally the same thing happened. And what, they don't see it? They just can't see it? What's that quote that I always say? The nationalism one?
Don't you see they're manufacturing consent because they're doing the government's interest?
the United States is much better off with Donald Trump as president dealing with China than with Joe Biden. Then I can't help them. And the other was on the border, which was an amazing contrast.
Trump
between
can't
when
even
Donald
run a
Trump was
business.
president,
How is
he got
he,
the border
like,
under control? He fulfilled promises about.
We need somebody who's more
building
business
barriers,
minded.
getting it
Okay,
done.
so let's put a guy
And-
who literally can't run businesses in there. That's business minded. Okay.
All these
Fucking
Democrats
Elon
beat
Musk
their
would have
chest
done
about how
better.
they were for sanctuary cities and they were so much more compassionate. That is until 10 million illegal people flooded this country and they started filling up blue cities like New York and Chicago and Washington. And suddenly they're not so compassionate anymore. And
If
many of
Chunk
the voters in those cities
got
are
the
sick of it.
thing
And I think you're
where
gonna see
he
a
was
lot of
like
those voters,
proved
they may not
that
tell you.
somebody not born in America could run, that would have been great because it would open the door for President Schwarzenegger, which would be
True.
fucking cool.
That
Right,
would
and
be
he does his inaugural address. He's got two M60s, just flexing.
Come on.
Yeah, they're going to vote for Trump because they don't
Get to the chopper. He says it every time. Everyone's like, shut up.
I have to get to the chopper every time he walks to the Marine One.
I would laugh every time.
called a racist or a xenophobe or whatever phobe that the Democrats want to put on somebody. But they're going to go into that voting booth. They're going to vote for Donald Trump because they're sick of what's happened to their country. They don't even recognize it anymore. So this was a great, great conversation.
What's
I'm glad
different?
you had the extended time to get out of the president what he was able
What's
to
different?
Give us in terms
No,
of
seriously, I
sheer
love people's
just
answer to this, and then
strong
they're always like,
contrast between
taxes
what-
and rent are higher. Yes, dollar value go up. Things don't cost a nickel anymore. Is that really? That's what I'm. Whenever you ask, what's different? What changed under Joe Biden? And they're going to say like, things cost more. Whoa! Do you expect them to start costing less? Do you want your currency in your pocket to devalue? Because that's what it already does.
What presidency is like under Donald Trump and what it's like under Joe Biden. And the choice couldn't be clearer.
You know, Governor, one of the things that I noticed in the interview when he talked about what he had done and then what's happened to the country, excuse me, he's sad. There's a sadness in what and how much
It's
we've gone
almost like,
backwards or gotten.
Making the dollar be buying less on Friday than it did from Tuesday when you're talking hamburgers, right? It's almost like that's designed inside the capitalist currency so that you have to spend the money to keep the economy in float. And that's like the fundamental design to capitalism.
Unless, of course, you're rich and you can sit your money in a bank and live off the interest.
Yeah.
Then it doesn't matter. You can just sit on your money.
Well, you can
But
also,
if you don't have-
gamble with people's mortgages.
Yes, that's true as well. So unless you have exorbitant amounts of money, which you can just sit on the interest and live off the interest, you have to spend the money to keep the economy running. It would be kind of interesting if everybody was just like, yeah, you know what? Fuck you. We're not buying anything anymore. Just like a buying strike for a day. It would destroy the world.
I seriously want to know what people recognize as fundamentally changing in the last 10 years.
Yeah, realistically. Nothing.
We have more smartphones.
Wow.
We need to take the phones away from the kids. They're all iPad babies.
Worse, especially in the case of the border in China and the Western Hemisphere. So yeah, it was really a great conversation. Thank you so much for joining us and giving us your thoughts on
Thank
it.
you, Governor. Appreciate your time. Always.
Thanks.
I'm Sue
Chinese
Ducey.
leader
I'm Brian
respected
Kilmeade.
And that means
not
you're
Biden.
click here.
A TikTok
Come on,
ban
bro.
didn't
Loud noises.
actually need
China
to
literally
happen. That's what we're
bows at
learning from an
Biden.
explosive news report from the
Like
Washington
how
Post.
that one guy said Kim Jong-un was bowing it before Trump. He was humbled by Donald Trump's mighty cock.
Uncovered an offer that TikTok pitched to the Biden administration. In 2022, TikTok told the Biden administration that it would give the US government a tremendous amount of control over the app in order to avoid a ban or forced divestiture. Despite previously indicating that they were willing to reach a compromise, the Biden administration ended its communications with the company and pursued a ban. We'll explain why that happened momentarily. But first, let's see all the concessions.
Hey, I'm sure it
that
has
TikTok was
nothing to
willing-
do with like them not trusting what the company is saying.
Yeah. It's definitely got nothing to do with the fact that China definitely and provably has backdoors into the app. Not to mention they can, pretty much brick your phone or at least the app until you do what it says or you don't get
Yeah,
access.
but this
to
was
the
in
app.
2022.
No, I know. I'm just
before they
saying
knew
now.
that.
It's like it's very justified as time has progressed.
to offer the administration. The company offered to let federal officials pick its U.S. operations board of directors, give the government veto power over each new hire, pay an American company that contracts with the Defense Department to monitor its source code, and give federal officials a kill switch that would shut down the app in the United States if they felt it remained a threat.
That's
A
a pretty
Georgetown
good
University
deal.
law professor who researches international tech policy told the Washington Post, the government essentially threw up its hands at the possibility of any kind of regulation or cybersecurity measure. TikTok proposed this incredible array of protections, but none of it mattered. What's even more bizarre is that the government gave TikTok good reason to believe it was
they already
interested in a
made
compromise.
Grindr do this. The government doesn't care what TikTok's going to offer. You're going to
No.
do what the U.S. government says. Go fuck yourself.
Yeah, exactly.
At the end of the day, what's going to happen?
Mhm.
They just tried to save themselves. It would be unprecedented to allow them to continue the way they have.
Mm-hmm.
The plan was drafted over months of meetings in consultation with the Committee on Foreign Investment in the United States officials, who told TikTok that they were close to a final agreement, according to two people familiar with the negotiations who spoke on the condition of anonymity. But shortly after TikTok submitted the proposal in August of 2022, CFIUS, without explanation, stopped engaging. TikTok and ByteDance wrote in their legal petition to the appeals court, the companies said they repeatedly asked why discussions had ended and how they might be restarted, but they did not receive a substantive response. A senior Biden administration official told the Washington Post in a statement that TikTok's offer was insufficient to address the serious national security risks presented, but gave no explanation as to why. In fact,
he doesn't need
while
to.
the government has offered some classified briefings for lawmakers, it hasn't publicly shared any evidence showing the Chinese government has exercised influence over the app. TikTok and its owner ByteDance have sued the government over the ban, arguing that it represents a First Amendment violation. And these comments from Senator Romney.
I still don't understand how this is even an argument. There is
It's
nothing on
not.
TikTok that is unique enough to support a First
Yeah,
Amendment.
well, they're going to claim that their algorithm is unique enough, but this is just what this is the first case, right?
No, I know. I'm just sort
they're
of...
gonna present stronger cases later, but they're gonna keep leveraging courts. So this is just the first of many. The easiest approach is the First Amendment argument.
Of course, but it's still like my initial thought as somebody who's not a lawyer is First Amendment protects people.
Yeah. Well, they think it's violating the creator's First Amendment right is the argument.
But I can just upload it to a different platform.
Yeah. That's why I don't think they expect this to actually be something that does pass in the court. But it's just covering bases at this point. They're going to do whatever they can to avoid a sale. And they might be able to do it. It would be crazy.
Help their case. Take a look.
Some wonder why there was such overwhelming support for us to shut down potentially TikTok or other entities of that nature.
Oh my God,
if
this
you
clip.
look at the postings on TikTok and the number of mentions
How old
of
is this
Palestinians
video?
relative to other
23 hours.
Bro, we've already literally been over this clip. Mitt Romney is a Mormon. He their drug of choice is soda pop. Do you know about this? The Mormons and sugar. Do you know about this?
So. I think
So
so.
like the
Yeah.
only justified vice in Mormonism is
Is
sugar.
sugar.
So like they really amplify how good those sweet candies are and those sweet treats are. So like a lot of Mormons like own like stakes in like, you know, sugar, like soda,
Right.
sugar,
America's-
candy, because they open up candy stores and stuff because it's a good business to open in
Yes.
Mormon towns.
Yeah, fair enough.
Farmland under a rising threat from communist China. Nearly 350.
Look, they tried to do the Chinese flag on the states.
Now owned by Chinese entities. Now Congress is trying to fight back.
Why
Congresswoman
should we
Ashley
care about
Hinton
this
leading that charge,
realistically?
adding provisions to the Farm Bill to stop this, and she joins us now. Congresswoman, it's great to have you on. So when you say Congress is fighting this, is this truly a bipartisan fight? Because we've been talking about our farmland being bought up by Chinese and also some of our processing plants for a long time now. I don't understand why this is still happening.
Right. Well, Rachel, we've really been asleep at the wheel for decades here.
To be fair, it's pretty fucking wild to let foreigners buy and own and operate in your country farmland.
The thing is,
it's
well,
pretty weird.
one, we have the indigenous argument in the United States, but we'll put a pin in that. Secondly,
I'm not even talking about
so
that.
much land. We have so much land. We
know.
could not possibly use it. Right?
I know. My point is to allow people who don't live in your country to own farmland, a producing piece of land in your country, to then export to a different country is fucking insane.
Yeah, we still make money off of it though.
That's what happens here, right? Is like there's a massive cattle ranch in WA, the north of WA.
Argument could be the argument
They
could
fly
be
it straight to China. They don't
those
even
buyers
go
if
through
those
Australian
buyers weren't there
regulations.
making money on that land, this would be the argument. If the buyers weren't there making money on that land, then who would be? Right? It's just a supply and demand economic thing. The US is making money regardless. I mean, Florida banned Chinese people from buying land and stuff in their state. But then again, it's like it's just Florida. Like that's not a major agricultural state. They do have agricultural exports, but not like the states where nobody lives.
Yeah, because my whole argument here is more based on housing, right? And it's more a general rule of no corporations.
I think that's a lot different.
Don't live in the country
when you're
3 months
corporate
of the year.
housing is just a shit show here too.
So like corporations, no. All your housing, you don't even get remunerated for it. It is now taken and raffled off to the population, and you get a free house. I don't give a shit. Fuck you. Fuck you, BlackRock. Fuck you, Airbnb. Go fuck yourselves. And if you don't live in the country, this is specifically for Australia. If you don't live in Australia for at least, I think, 3 months of the year, you shouldn't be able to own property here. I don't think that's unreasonable.
Yeah, get a timeshare, bitch.
Like, you have to spend minimum 3 months in the country, minimum, to maintain. If you are not a citizen, to maintain ownership of a property, you must spend 3 months minimum in the country. I don't think that's unreasonable.
Like, I'd prefer like the American, like, because we have so much land, right? Like, there was no reason to wipe out even the bison herds on this land. Right? It's fucking empty, right? So for me, when it comes to farmland, it's like I would rather it go to a very specific group of people, you know, that's what I would like it to go through. But realistically, that's not going to happen because the Americans want the bottom line where they're going to make profit off of the land. And at that point, whoever's buying it, why should they give a shit at the end of the day? It's just farmland.
Well, yeah. Well, they always cry about national security, don't they?
I mean, we already subsidize the fucking corn.
Which is dumb.
Yeah,
Stop.
and like...
Corn is the thing
I
that's
love the
ruining
idea
American
of the
diet.
simple family farm in America that people still have. This like archetype that farmers are these simple people who ride their tractors every morning.
No, they're
and shit.
massive conglomerates now.
Yeah, and they're often family farm.
Millionaires.
A family farm means that it's like a family-run corporation.
Yeah.
Like,
yeah, family owned. Yeah, it's a family-owned
no one
multi-billion-dollar
is thinking about the parasite investor class, though. Exactly, and that's all America cares about. It doesn't care about the bottom line of like shit like that.
And that's the exact type of people that I'm talking about, right? I don't give a shit. Realistically, I don't. I like.
Well,
all the
because
companies cry
remember
about-
the government gave a bunch of farmland away to black people, and Steven Crowder did that really racist impression of black people on how they're going to go work farms and laughed about it, like that black people can't be rural. And it's like, bro, who do you think worked the slave plantation? Like, these people were literally, like, their ancestry is from slaves. That's why they're getting this reparation land.
Yes, exactly.
You fucking moron.
And to be fair, given what was promised.
Yeah, I don't know how legit that promise was, the 3 acres and a
really?
mule thing. Yeah, I don't know how legit that promise was, or how,
interesting.
you know, it was never written down, that
Sure.
type of shit.
Sure. I'm
But
actually curious now.
what
'cause
I
I've
think-
always,
what I
that's
think-
always been a thing.
But yeah,
I've
no, I
done.
agree. What I think is, like, you can take, because we have so much land, because we killed everyone and every living thing on the land to build a railroad on it. So we have all this land, right? And I think, like, you can literally give people land and give them a package.
This was an actual official part of Special
Okay.
Order Number 15, a wartime order proclaimed by Union General William Sherman in the 1860s.
Oh, Sherman. So it was a military thing then.
I guess.
It didn't come from the state. Anyway, they were probably promising it for people who defected to the Union or something. Anyway, the extra land, you can take that and use that, like my fundamental idea for reparations is to take this land that we have that we killed people for already and basically give the deeds to people and then give them like packages where it's like you can go live there and work it yourself and just take the land and you can pass that property down to your family, right? Or you can sell it to the government in a lump sum now and we'll pay you out for the land we've just gifted you.
But how much is
It's extremely
payment?
low. It's going to be extremely low.
Exactly. They're not going to pay what it's worth.
Yeah, but that's the thing is like, but they can also they can also just take the land and rent it out themselves as well. But that involves that would mean that they would more take it and they would invest as a business. And then also, if you think about it, multiple people could bring the land that's being gifted together and start a conglomerate chain within that, and they can do it that way. Like, there's tons of options there. But I think the idea for just the lump sum being paid right away is a better idea. And when people say, where's the money going to come from? It's going to come from government land that's not making money on it. It's literally beneficial to the government to have this land worked.
So why not do that? So what's the...
Oh, because people will freak out.
Okay.
About black people getting handouts.
Okay. It'll tell them to suck shit.
I know. It's just not... We need a far more progressive government for that type of shit to go down. But I think it's a genuinely good idea. And also, ultimately, my opinion doesn't matter because it's between people who were slaves and their ancestors were slaves and the states. My opinion doesn't matter. If you're white, shut the fuck up, basically.
I mean, you can have an opinion, but realistically, it doesn't matter.
Yeah.
Just the last 10-year period that we have the data on, from 2010 to 2020, Chinese investment in American farmland, I think it doubled. And so we know that we have a huge impact here on American farmland. And to set the stage a little bit,
are we
here in
making
Iowa,
money?
about 10 years ago,
You mean to say that we're making double the investment money on it now? Wow, thanks, Fox News.
They're trying to undermine our entire system, all while distorting the markets at the same time with unfair practices. So this is a bipartisan approach, absolutely, because I don't think this is a challenge for Republicans or Democrats. This is a challenge for us as Americans. And our farmland is one of our greatest assets here in the United States. And communist China should not own another acre of our land. It's about protecting our food supply, it's about protecting our national security. And I'm proud of
Okay, no, not about food supply or national security. It's about money.
In Congress, both Democrats and Republicans are equally excited about your bill.
Absolutely. I think this is looking forward.
I mean, bro, with like, honestly, for a lot of places, like, it's really just the paperwork that's blocking Obamacare from getting to people. Like, you actually have to be like one of the, like, you have to be escaping into the middle class to be the people who don't qualify for it. Like, it's actually if you're turning 26 and losing your insurance, there's no way you're not going to qualify for Obamacare. The thing is that it took literally like a year and a half for me to get that shit. Like, I should have started way sooner. Like, not having healthcare for a year and a half really damaged me. especially considering I had just gotten back from Syria. So
make sure that we have a good track on not just Chinese.
it should just be
investment in
easier
farmland,
to get the
but investment
fucking
from our adversaries.
Obamacare.
We need to do everything we can to prevent that, because what's to say at some point they couldn't just flip the switch, right? So we know
Is this
and
guy
this is
having
kind
a
of
stroke?
multi-pronged.
Yeah, I don't
We
know what's going
land
on. I think they're communicating in Morse code.
is one part of this equation. Controlling the inputs and the supply chain is another. So that's where we're trying to tackle this kind of from an all of the above approach here, in making sure that we can still remain competitive and protect our
No,
supply chain.
they don't think
Yeah,
this.
I mean, food
All they're
security
saying is all they're doing is being racist. China scary, China communist, China bad, Chinese Exclusion Act good. You're muted.
There's literally no basis in reality.
Yeah,
the
but
discussion that we had, that was
property
based
is
on
way
reality.
property, actual rental property and shit is a way different thing, and we're having problems here for different things. But Australia, the rental property being owned by China is a serious problem. Look at this, you know, the like building that was all tagged up, right?
Yeah.
Because it was just abandoned by a Chinese investor.
Yep.
That is going on in America, and that is helping raise the price of rent and stuff, but not as much as Airbnb and BlackRock and all these other conglomerates and corporations.
is national security. It's unbelievable what the Chinese are doing. And as you said, we've been asleep at the wheel. A lot of times these purchases, Congresswoman, are being
Why don't
made
we go buy their
Americans
land?
to provide cover through
Can't.
these, corporations.
They can't even buy their land.
I know.
Some sort of arrangement so that the Chinese are actually behind it, but it looks like it's an American buyer. Does your bill do anything to punish Americans who are involved in doing what I think would be treasonous?
And the thing is,
transactions
like
with the
I talk about this a lot,
So this
but
bill's
the
more about
whole
making sure that we have the tools to track,
the
to go
public
down a few layers.
option, all that stuff. Like the thing is that the way America is set up, it's set up so well to be able to address your issues at your local court and market, but it just doesn't happen anymore. You know, it was set up, well, it was really set up to have the elites be able to do that. That said, it's like these avenues and pathways exist, but the bureaucracy in so many of these places is just insane. But yeah, the public option, I think, is the practical next step. That said, one of the things Joe Biden did run on is expanding Obamacare. And while that isn't just Medicare for all, which obviously I'm more on board with Bernie's plan, because then I wouldn't have to apply for any of this shit. I would just get it by having a social security number. Like, there just needs to be something to cut out the bureaucracy with health insurance. And they need to really address the issue where it's tied to people's employment. I think that's also, even though they're insured, that's still not proper insurance if it's tied to your fucking job, like that's fucked. And like, how long is that going to last before corporations start taking that away? So just putting a public option in is helping address the future that is inevitable of losing benefits through corporations conglomerating.
Right. So with CFIUS, which is under Treasury, this is about those financial disclosure reports and investments, making sure that we have a clearer picture of who is making those investments. And so when I mentioned it's important to know who our adversaries are, which adversaries are buying this land, that's what this is about. It's about Communist China. It's about Iran, right? It's about Russia.
Yes.
All of entities that we think could be working together to undermine the United States.
No question about it. One last question. What is being done about the land that's already been purchased? As you saw on that map, there's a lot of acres, millions and millions of acres already under the possession of the Chinese. What can be done about that?
Yeah.
Why is Pennsylvania shaded so weirdly?
I hope American investors
it's got like
farmers
green.
are looking at ways where we can buy it
What
back.
part
I'm
of the
not sure
Chinese
what more the
flag is
government will
that?
need to have in that. But when it comes to protecting our food supply and national security, I think this is something where we have inherent public interest and may need to step in a more aggressive way.
Yeah. Well, there's a war on farmers. It's hard for farmers to hold on to land, which also is causing this to happen. So there's a lot of angles to look at this. Congresswoman, we're really happy that you're
trying
on
to
this.
paint the farmers like they're
issue. Thank you for joining us this morning.
You know where those types of farmers exist? Those like, the nice romantic idea of farmers who just have a little duck farm, have a little, maybe a little dairy farm, a little dairy op. Huh?
Disney?
No. They exist in like New Hampshire and Vermont.
That's
like
funny.
it's like New York has some too. Like we're big. We got really, our dairy farmers here, they really capitalized off of government cheese. I went to like school with a dairy farmer, and like their farm is still pretty fucking small. You know, they're still like localized.
That just had everything bought, everything they could produce.
No, I mean there's still like it's a huge dairy farm that we literally went. Oh no, my phone flashlight has been on this whole time. We literally went there as a field trip in first grade to the dairy farm, and like I drove by it every day going to college. Like it's not gigantic.
Admiral Dong Jun's first appearance in Singapore as China's defense chief. In his
Also,
address, he
you
called
know
for a new
what
security
else?
partnership.
You know the state. You know what state fairs are, right? Do you know the purpose of them?
No.
Okay, so like every state has them now, and they have carnival aspects to them. But originally, the state fair was a New York initiative. We had the first state fair literally here in my town, right? And the whole point of it was to help the farmers here.
Yeah.
So they bring out and they like show their animals to win like a prize. Like it's mainly for farmers and to show animals and stuff at state fairs.
Yeah. That's kind of interesting. Because we never really had that stuff. We have markets, but they don't really do livestock.
Safeguard the region, one free from interference, referring to US-led efforts to build alliances to deter any use of force by Beijing. He also hit out at the US for arming Taipei.
This essentially fuels Taiwanese independence ambitions, attempting to use Taiwan to contain China. These malicious intentions are dragging Taiwan into a perilous situation.
China's differences with the US were laid bare at the summit.
We had a frank discussion.
Secretary Lloyd Austin earlier accused Beijing of dangerous harassment against the Philippines. But the two sides did manage to engage with one another here. Defense chiefs from both countries spoke face to face.
So this dairy farmer, you know, like I went to school with in first grade, they do a summer camp where they basically have kids come in. It's like a use child labor, it sounds like. Connect with animals, you know? But it's like a summer camp initiative.
Oh, that's funny.
For the first time in nearly 2 years. The last time such a gathering took place, there was little more than a handshake between them. This time, China says because of its military differences with the US, they must communicate with one another. Importantly, the two sides agreed to open up a military-to-military level dialogue further here in Singapore, and also to set up a crisis communications working group by the end of this year. It's a notable piece of progress considering the low level of engagement just a year ago.
I think it's the beginnings of rejuvenating the lines of communication on defense and security matters between US and China.
Separately, Ukrainian President Volodymyr Zelensky made a late appearance at Asia's premier security gathering. He's here to drum up support for his peace conference due to be held in Switzerland later this month. Here, he accused China of undermining the initiative.
Unfortunately, there are also attempts to disrupt the summit. We don't want to believe that this is a desire for a monopolistic power in the world to deny the global community the opportunity to decide on war and peace, and to leave this power in the hands of one or two.
China has criticized the conference because Russia isn't invited and says without its participation, it'll be difficult for it to play a role in restoring peace. Patrick Falk, Al Jazeera, Singapore.
Hey, China. Who invaded Ukraine? Who disturbed the peace? Why would they be invited to peace summits?
Who? Russia?
Wondering. China, yeah, Russia.
Well, they have Russia and Ukraine. I think have attended potentially the same peace summit.
They were more negotiations. This is a summit. Now, why would you invite the primary person responsible for the massive upset in peace in Europe for the first time in a fairly long time? Who did that? Putin did that. So why the fuck would he get invited to a peace summit? That doesn't make sense. So China, cry more. Just have a cry. Just sook in the corner. Oh, my buddy's not here. Oh. No, go away.
Are you aware of a CIA psychological profile about you, sir? Would you be interested in hearing what the CIA had to say? This secret study portrays as a brilliant but dangerous megalomaniac who is likely to pursue his own aims in disregard of U.S. interests. He's an uncertain ally. Shall I go on, or would you prefer that I stop, sir?